This is VOA News. Reporting by remote, I'm Joe Ramsey. The United States will hold Russia accountable for quote-unquote war crimes, the White House said on Monday, hours after Russia attacked Ukrainian cities with drones during morning rush hour, killing at least 4 people in an apartment building in downtown Kyiv. Russian forces also targeted infrastructure across the country in the second wave of airstrikes in a week. Reporter Anna Chernikova reports from Kyiv for VOA's Flashpoint Ukraine.
Attacks in the morning, there were at least 5 explosions in Kyiv. We know that in total 28 drones, Iranian drones, were launched by Russia on the city of Kyiv, but only 5 reached the destination. The rest were destroyed by the air defense. Unfortunately, one of the drones hit a residential building in the very city center.
A pregnant woman was among 4 people killed in the attack on the residential building, Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said. Ukraine's foreign minister has called on the European Union to sanction Iran for providing Russia with drones used in attacks on Kyiv. AP correspondent Charles De Ledesma reports.
In a video statement, Dmytro Kuleba says the time has come to apply sanctions against Iran for supplying weapons to the Russian Federation. He was speaking from a bomb shelter amid the air raids. Kuleba says he was addressing the EU Foreign Affairs Council when the drones struck Ukraine's capital. Drones used in the attack appear to include Iranian-made Shaheds. I'm Charles De Ledesma.
This is VOA News. New British Treasury Chief Jeremy Hunt has reversed most of an economic package announced by the government just 3 weeks ago, including planned cut in income taxes. Hunt said Monday he was scrapping almost all the tax cuts announced last month by the Conservative government and signaled public spending cuts are on the way. It was a bid to soothe turbulent financial markets spooked by fears of excessive borrowing. Hunt also said more spending cuts are coming. The United States and Mexico say they are preparing a UN resolution that would authorize, quote, an international assistance mission to help improve security in crisis-racked Haiti so desperately needed humanitarian aid can be delivered to millions in need. U.S. Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield made the announcement at an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council as thousands across Haiti organized protests demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry. The U.S. ambassador said the proposed non-UN mission would be limited to time and scope and would be led by a partner country that's not named, quote, with the deep necessary experience required for such an effort to be effective. Documents released by a U.S. House committee shows Donald Trump's private companies charged high rates for the Secret Service to stay at Trump properties during his presidency, the AP's Ed Donahue reports.
The House Oversight Committee says Donald Trump made more than 500 trips to his properties while he was president, and the Secret Service was charged room rates of more than $800 per night at least 11 times. Documents show 2 charges of more than $1,100 a night. New York Democrat Carolyn Maloney sent a letter to the Secret Service saying the exorbitant rates point to a possible taxpayer-funded windfall for former President Trump's struggling businesses. The Trump Organization denies the allegations. The former president's son, Eric, says the Trump family is likely the first family in American history to have not profited off the United States government. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Recapping our top story, the United States will hold Russia accountable for quote-unquote war crimes, the White House said on Monday, hours after Russia attacked Ukrainian cities with drones during morning rush hour, killing at least 4 people in an apartment building in downtown Kyiv. Russian forces also targeted infrastructure across the country in the second wave of airstrikes in a week. A pregnant woman was among 4 people killed in the attack on a residential building, Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said. Find more on our website, voanews.com. Reporting by remote, I'm Joe Ramsey, VOA News. This is VOA News. Reporting by remote, I'm Joe Ramsey. Airstrikes cut power and water supplies to hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians. It's part of what the country's president called an expanding Russian campaign to drive the nation into the cold and dark and make peace talks impossible. President Volodymyr Zelensky said nearly a third of Ukraine's power stations have been destroyed in the past week, causing massive blackouts. The mayor of Zhytomyr said all the city was without electricity and water after a double missile strike Tuesday on an energy facility. Authorities said missile strikes also hit an energy facility in Kyiv and severely damaged another one in the south-central city of Dnipro. French cement company Lafarge has pleaded guilty to paying millions of dollars to the Islamic State group so a plant in Syria could remain open. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports.
U.S. Attorney Breon Peace calls it a first-of-its-kind case.
Lafarge made a deal with the devil.
That was back in 2013 and 14. Now they pay fines of $91 million plus forfeiting $687 million, according to the agreement. Deputy U.S. Attorney General Lisa Monaco says while many Western countries left Syria because of terrorists, Lafarge made a different decision.
To go into business with ISIS and al-Nusra, two of the world's most notorious and brutal terrorist organizations.
Lafarge ended up merging with another company which fired those executives, but emails and other evidence uncovered the payments. I'm Julie Walker.
The family of an American citizen arrested in Saudi Arabia says he was tortured and sentenced to 16 years in prison over tweets he sent while in the United States. His son described the tweets as mild tweets, and he was convicted on terrorism charges. This is VOA News. UNICEF warns that an unprecedented number of children are likely to die in drought-stricken, famine-prone Somalia without greater immediate action from the international community to provide life-saving assistance. Lisa Schlein reports for VOA from Geneva.
Somalia has endured 4 consecutive years of and is facing a possible 5th season of drought. The humanitarian crisis is having a particularly disastrous impact on children. UNICEF reports the number of severely acutely malnourished children is skyrocketing. In August alone, it reports that 44,000 children with severe acute malnutrition were admitted to health facilities for emergency treatment. Speaking from Dolo, Somalia, UNICEF spokesman James Elder says this means today in Somalia, a child is admitted to a health care facility every single minute of every single day.
Somalia really is on the brink of a tragedy at a scale not seen in decades. And of course, the children behind what is a staggering, slightly appalling statistic are those who make it to a treatment centre.
Elder notes that many people are prevented from getting the help they need because of ongoing instability in the country and the dangers posed by the Islamist militant Al-Shabaab group. In response, he says UNICEF is deploying mobile teams to find and treat malnourished children in hard-to-reach locations. Lisa Schlein for VOA News, Geneva.
U.S. President Joe Biden will announce the release of 15 million barrels of oil from the U.S. Strategic Reserve Wednesday as part of a response to recent production cuts announced by OPEC Plus nations. That's according to senior administration officials who spoke Tuesday on the condition of anonymity to outline Biden's plans. He will also say more oil sales are possible this winter as his administration rushes to be seen as pulling out all the stops ahead of next month's midterm elections. The Strategic Reserve now contains roughly 400 million barrels of oil, its lowest level since 1984. Recapping our top story, airstrikes cut power and water supplies to hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians. That's part of what the country's president called an expanding Russian campaign to drive the nation into the cold and dark and make peace talks impossible. President Volodymyr Zelensky said nearly a third of Ukraine's power stations have been destroyed in the past week, causing massive blackouts. Find more on our website, voanews.com, or follow us on the VOA mobile app. Reporting by remote, I'm Joe Ramsey, VOA News.